Oh, Carl Jung. Yes, you heard that right, Carl Jung and the hidden power of silence that can change your life. What you are about to hear now, about Carl Jung, can literally transform the way you see yourself and the world around you. Imagine understanding the silent force that guides your decisions, your energy, and even your relationships, without needing to shout, react, or waste yourself on what doesn't matter. It's about learning to preserve your energy, using silence as a tool, and noticing who truly deserves your attention. Get ready to discover Carl Jung's secrets, revelations that have never been told in such a direct way. And pay attention. If you enjoy content that transforms your thinking and brings powerful insights, here you will find Carl Jung's secrets that will change your life. I will be bringing these videos later this week, so don't miss it. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and once you finish watching, I want to see your feedback in the comments. Listen closely. What you are about to hear now can change your life. The silence that transforms. Have you ever stopped to notice the power that exists in simply being silent? It's not just about keeping your mouth shut, but about quieting the mind, about creating a space where your consciousness can emerge without external distractions. Carl Jung, one of the greatest thinkers on the human psyche, said that silence is much more than the absence of words. It is a powerful instrument of the conscious mind, capable of revealing layers of our existence that go unnoticed in the noise of daily life. When you allow yourself to be silent, something magical happens. Your mind, which usually runs between memories, worries, and other people's desires, finally finds a point of balance. It's in this space that you're able to observe your thoughts, feelings, and reactions without being dominated by them. Have you ever stopped to think about how most people react automatically to what happens around them, without even reflecting on their own motivations? And what if, for a moment, you could interrupt this automatic chain of reactions and simply become a spectator of your own life? Silence also works as a powerful filter. It teaches us to choose where we want to invest our energy and attention. How many times have you found yourself responding to provocations, comments, or situations that, deep down, didn't deserve any of your effort? Jung believed that by cultivating silence, we are able to perceive these situations with clarity and choose whether we truly want to react or not. Can you remember a moment when you reacted without thinking and later regretted it? How different would it have been if you had remained silent? In addition, silence opens the way for deep observation of the people around you. When you stop reacting immediately, you begin to notice patterns, intentions, and behaviors that once went unnoticed. It's almost as if the world slowly reveals itself to those who know how to wait, observe, and listen without judgment. Have you noticed how some people only show who they really are when you don't react right away to their actions? Carl Jung also saw silence as a form of emotional autonomy. The more we allow ourselves to quiet down, the less we are manipulated by external expectations or social pressures. Imagine being able to go through arguments, criticism, or provocations without letting them affect your inner peace. Have you ever tried to remain calm and silent in a difficult situation and noticed the difference in how people around you reacted? Another crucial point is that silence is not passivity. On the contrary, it requires courage. Courage not to give in to the pressure of answering, of justifying yourself, or of pleasing others. Courage to put yourself first and listen to your own inner voice. Jung said that silence connects us with something greater within us, allowing consciousness to awaken and enabling us to finally perceive our true desires, fears, and dreams. When was the last time you gave yourself the chance to listen to yourself without interruptions? In silence, the art of patience is also revealed. Everything around us happens at an accelerated pace. Messages, opinions, problems, demands. But when we choose to be silent, we create a kind of zone of power, a space where we can analyze, reflect, and decide with wisdom. How many times have you rushed because you didn't give the situation time to reveal itself on its own? If you gave more room for silence in your life, what decisions could have been different? Finally, silence transforms because it reconnects us with ourselves. It shows us that our mind does not need to be dominated by the external, that our choices do not need to be guided by immediacy or by what others expect. Each moment of silence is an invitation to connect with our essence, to realize that there is an invisible power within us that, when cultivated, can change our lives in a deep and lasting way. Are you willing to experience silence and discover what it can reveal about you? Psychic energy. Jung said that every thought, emotion, and reaction consumes our psychic energy. But what does this really mean for your life? Imagine that you have a limited reserve of inner strength, as if it were an invisible battery that fuels every decision, every action, and every feeling you express. Each word spoken, each impulse followed without reflection, consumes a bit of this vital energy. When we respond automatically to everything, without observing, without choosing, we are, without realizing it, wasting our own power. How many times have you found yourself reacting to situations that didn't deserve your attention? Comments, criticisms, provocations, or even other people's expectations can drain our inner strength when we are not aware of our own limits. Jung taught that psychic energy is not infinite, and that becoming conscious of its management is an essential step toward personal autonomy. Can you remember a moment when you felt emotionally exhausted after trying to please someone or dealing with situations that weren't worth your energy? How different would it have been if you had managed your responses better? Saving energy does not mean becoming cold or indifferent. On the contrary, it means learning to direct your strength toward what really matters, toward choices and people that add value, toward actions that reflect your true essence. When we learn to manage our psychic energy, we become less manipulable, less dependent on the approval of others, and more aligned with our own path. Have you stopped to reflect on how many times you've let yourself be carried away by immediacy, spending energy on something that brought no return to your life? Jung also said that our energy is noticeable to those around us. People sensitive to manipulation, whether intentional or unconscious, can perceive when we are emotionally available, and they exploit our energy to satisfy their own needs. Strategic silence and conscious reflection are ways to protect our inner reserve, creating presence and authority without needing words. Can you identify someone in your life who tends to take advantage of your emotional availability? Furthermore, understanding psychic energy teaches us about boundaries and conscious choices. Every time we react impulsively, we are giving power to the external over the internal. When we preserve our energy, we gain clarity and decision-making ability, making every gesture, every word, and every action more meaningful. Have you noticed how different it feels when you respond consciously instead of just reacting automatically? What's most fascinating is that by learning to protect your energy, you also awaken a kind of silent magnetism. People around you begin to notice your presence, your balance, and your ability to reflect. Jung showed that true strength does not lie in controlling others, but in mastering yourself, in deeply understanding where and how to apply your energy. How many times have you felt drained after dealing with someone or some situation without reflecting on your emotional expenditure? Finally, understanding and managing psychic energy is a path to freedom and self-knowledge. Every conscious thought, every controlled reaction, and every emotion directed with wisdom strengthens your life. Jung reminds us that energy is like an invisible treasure. If we don't know how to guard it, it will be used by others, but if we learn to protect it, we can build a more powerful, balanced, and meaningful life. Are you ready to take control of your own energy and decide where it should be invested? When silence becomes power. Have you ever imagined the impact of not reacting immediately to provocations or demands? Strategic silence, according to Carl Jung, is not just an absence of response, but a powerful tool of observation and self-mastery. When you refrain from reacting, something profound happens. You stop being predictable, and your presence begins to be felt in a completely new way. Jung believed that silence can reveal more about others than about yourself, showing who is truly worthy of your attention and who is merely trying to manipulate your reactions. By remaining silent, you create a space where the other person reveals themselves. The people around you show their true intentions, react in unexpected ways, and often demonstrate who truly values your presence. Have you ever stopped to think about who actually misses you when you step back or don't respond immediately? Who has simply grown used to your constant availability? When you stop reacting, you begin to notice these dynamics with clarity. Who in your life truly misses you when you stay silent? Silence also builds invisible authority. It's not about shouting or imposing, but about being fully present in a measured way. When you learn to control your responses, your impact grows. Each word becomes more meaningful, each gesture more valuable, because you don't waste your energy on automatic reactions. How many times have you responded with anger or anxiety only to regret it later? What if you had chosen silence at that moment? How different would it have been? In addition, strategic silence creates an atmosphere of mystery. When others don't know how you will react, they begin to pay attention, to reflect, and to reconsider their actions. It is a form of presence that doesn't depend on words, but on energy, posture, and self-control. Have you noticed how some people only value what they don't have easy access to? Silence places you in that position of subtle authority. Jung also showed that silence is a form of emotional self-protection. Every impulsive reaction gives away a piece of your energy and allows the external world to influence your mind and feelings. By choosing not to react immediately, you retain your inner strength and create the freedom to decide how to act with awareness. Can you identify moments when your silence prevented unnecessary conflicts or gave you an advantage in a delicate situation? Another powerful effect of silence is that it allows reflection about yourself and about others. While others try to extract responses from you, you observe, learn, and understand patterns of behavior. Jung said that silence is a way to perceive projections and hidden intentions. How many times have you noticed someone trying to provoke a reaction from you just to test your limits or manipulate your emotions? And if you had remained silent, what would the effect have been? Finally, when silence becomes power, it transforms the way you relate to the world. It allows you to take control of your energy, your presence, and your emotional life, showing that true strength is not in reacting, but in choosing the right moment to act. Those who value your presence will miss you, and those who try to manipulate you will realize that you are no longer available to be used. Are you ready to experience the silent power and discover how it can change the way you relate and live? The mask of the persona. We all wear social masks, said Carl Jung. From an early age, we learn to shape ourselves in order to be accepted, recognized, or loved. But what happens when that mask becomes our primary way of existing? When we make ourselves excessively available to others, our persona, the face we show to the world, can turn into a tool through which others control us, without us even realizing it. Have you ever felt that people only see your mask and not who you really are? The persona is necessary to some extent. It helps with social adaptation, coexistence, and even emotional protection. However, Jung warned that when we over-identify with this mask, we lose touch with our true inner essence. We become so worried about meeting other people's expectations that we stop listening to our own desires and feelings. How many times have you said yes when you really wanted to say no, just to avoid displeasing or being rejected? The power of silence comes in as an ally in this balance. By withdrawing from certain interactions, without reacting immediately, we begin to observe the world from a different perspective. Silence allows us to notice which behaviors are truly ours and which were molded to please or adapt. Have you ever tried staying silent in a situation where you would normally react in order to please someone? What was it like to simply observe without being carried away? In addition, strategic silence helps recognize who truly values your essence and who is only interested in the persona you present. It's a subtle yet powerful test. Those who truly connect with you will respect your space, while those who seek only your emotional availability will miss it or become irritated by your absence. How many times have you noticed that some people only care about the image you project, and not about you as a person? Jung also showed that the persona can create inner conflict when it overshadows our authenticity. The more we strive to maintain the mask, the more psychic and emotional energy we waste trying to meet external expectations. Silence, in this context, works as a conscious pause, allowing you to reconnect with yourself and regain your inner strength. Have you ever felt exhausted from trying to maintain an image that didn't match what you were truly feeling? Another important aspect is that silence reveals projections. When we stop reacting automatically, we are able to perceive how others project their own insecurities and expectations onto our persona. Jung said that observing these projections without identifying with them is essential for personal growth. Can you identify situations where someone overreacted or acted manipulatively simply because you didn't respond the way they expected? Finally, balancing the persona with the true essence is a process of self-knowledge and empowerment. Silence gives us the opportunity to choose when and how to show our different facets, without being controlled by the judgment of others. It is an invitation to free ourselves from the illusion that we must always function for others, and to realize that our true strength lies in authenticity. Are you ready to look beyond the mask and discover who you really are? Conscious withdrawal. It's not about running away, but about choosing when and how to show yourself. Carl Jung called this individuation, the process of becoming whole, authentic, and self-aware. Withdrawing consciously from certain situations is not a sign of weakness, but of inner strength and self-control. Every moment in which you decide to pause, reflect, and not react automatically is an opportunity to strengthen your emotional autonomy. Has there ever been a time when you withdrew from a situation and realized you gained more control over your life? Conscious withdrawal allows you to observe events with clarity, without being dragged by the impulse to respond or please. Often, reacting immediately means giving energy to situations or people who do not deserve your emotional investment. Jung taught that understanding where we direct our energy is essential to maintaining mental health and personal freedom. How many times have you regretted reacting without thinking and realized you lost part of yourself in the process? This practice also helps unmask other people's intentions. When you don't immediately give in to external demands, it becomes possible to see who truly respects your space and who is only trying to take advantage of your availability. Manipulative or opportunistic people tend to reveal themselves when they encounter someone who does not react as they expect. Can you recall situations where your absence or silence made someone show their true face? In addition, conscious withdrawal connects us with our inner self. In the midst of the rush and stimuli of daily life, it's easy to lose touch with our deepest thoughts and feelings. By stepping back temporarily, we create a safe space to reflect on our choices, emotions, and priorities. Have you ever felt that, by withdrawing from a situation, you were able to see solutions or answers that were not clear before? Jung also saw this practice as a form of emotional self-discipline. Each withdrawal is an exercise in controlling our impulses, allowing us not to be manipulated or carried away by the behavior of others. This strengthens self-confidence and helps us realize that we don't need to be constantly available in order to be valued. How many times have you felt exhausted from trying to be present for everyone, without gaining respect or reciprocity? Another powerful effect of conscious withdrawal is that it promotes authenticity and individuation. By choosing when to show yourself and when to remain silent, you learn to be true to yourself, showing only what you wish to share and protecting your emotional energy. This practice creates a stronger and more magnetic presence, where each action has intention and each word has value. Can you identify moments when saying no or stepping back gave more power to your decisions? Finally, conscious withdrawal is a tool of freedom. It allows us to define our own boundaries, protect our psychic energy, and build healthier relationships. Jung taught that each step in this process is progress toward individuation, wholeness, and authenticity. By mastering this art, you not only protect yourself but also become capable of acting with clarity, purpose, and strength. Are you ready to experience conscious withdrawal and see how it can transform your emotional life and your relationships? Identifying manipulations. When you are always available, you become a tool for others, even without realizing it. Carl Jung warned that many people approach not to connect with who you truly are, but to extract something from you. attention, validation, help, or company. Being constantly accessible makes your psychic energy used by those who have no regard for your true value. Can you identify people who only show up when they need something from you? Strategic silence works as an emotional magnifying glass, revealing hidden intentions. When you don't react immediately, you notice behavior patterns. Who truly cares, who respects your space, and who takes advantage of your availability. It is in this space of observation that you begin to differentiate true friendships from utilitarian relationships, people who share your energy and those who only seek to benefit. How many times have you realized that someone only sought your help or attention when they had their own interests? Jung emphasized that awareness of these dynamics is essential to preserving psychic energy. Each automatic reaction to external demands means giving away power. By learning to identify manipulations, you stop being someone else's instrument and become the protagonist of your own life. Have you noticed how some individuals seem to test your limits or provoke reactions just to measure your availability? Furthermore, identifying manipulations requires observation and patience. It is not necessary to confront or react immediately. Often, simply remaining silent is enough for the truth to reveal itself. The people who care about you will respect your space. Those who only want to take advantage will show frustration or attempts to pressure you into giving in. Have you ever experienced staying silent and noticing that someone became uncomfortable precisely because they didn't get the reaction they expected? Another point is that this awareness strengthens emotional control and autonomy. By recognizing when you are being manipulated, you choose whether to engage or step away, saving energy and protecting your mental health. Jung said that this practice is a fundamental step in individuation, in the process of becoming whole and authentic. How many times have you felt drained from trying to please or solve problems for people who didn't truly care? Silence, combined with attentive observation, also allows you to respond with intelligence rather than impulse. Instead of reacting to provocations or demands, you analyze the situation, understand others' motivations, and act strategically. This creates respect and establishes clear boundaries without the need for direct confrontation. Have you noticed the difference between automatically giving in and responding with awareness and firmness? Finally, Jung reminds us that preserving our energy is essential to living in a balanced and authentic way. Identifying manipulations and carefully choosing where to invest our attention and availability is not selfishness, it is wisdom. Those who value you will understand and respect your decisions, while those who only seek to take advantage will naturally be filtered out of your life. Are you ready to use silence as a tool of perception and protection, recognizing who truly deserves your presence and who only wants to take advantage of you? The power of observation. Silence and observation go hand in hand, and Carl Jung emphasized that conscious observation is one of the most powerful tools for self-knowledge and emotional autonomy. Before acting or reacting, pausing to observe allows us to notice patterns, intentions, and consequences that escape impulsive reactions. It is in this space that conscious decisions are born, true personal leadership and self-mastery. Have you ever regretted reacting before thinking? What would it have been like if you had just observed? Observing before reacting gives us clarity about who is truly around us and which situations deserve our energy. Often, we waste vital force responding to provocation, criticism, or social pressure that is not worth it. Jung taught that this energy, when directed consciously, strengthens our mind and protects our autonomy. How many times have you noticed that an impulsive reaction brought negative consequences, while patience would have shown the right path? Silent observation also reveals others' projections. People tend to project their own insecurities, frustrations, or expectations onto us. If we react immediately, we become part of that projection, giving away our energy and being manipulated without realizing it. But by observing carefully, we can distinguish what is ours from what is reflected by others. Can you remember situations where you realized someone was trying to manipulate you, but only understood it after reflecting? Another important point is that conscious observation allows us to control our own narrative. When we choose not to react automatically, we demonstrate presence, balance, and silent authority. Jung taught that this control is the essence of personal power. It is not about dominating others, but about mastering oneself. How many times have you felt that you lost reason or energy by reacting impulsively, when you could have maintained control and achieved better results? The practice of observation also strengthens judgment and discernment. Every situation becomes an opportunity to learn about ourselves and others. By observing carefully, we notice hidden intentions, behavioral patterns, and motivations that go unnoticed by those who act impulsively. Have you ever realized that if you had just observed, you could have avoided a conflict or a hasty decision? Furthermore, Jung saw observation as a tool to increase presence and personal magnetism. Those who observe and choose their actions consciously convey confidence, authority, and self-control, without needing to impose anything. This type of silent power is perceived by everyone around, generating respect and consideration. Have you noticed how some people naturally attract attention and respect simply through their calm and observant posture? Finally, the power of observation is the key to a more conscious and balanced life. By combining silence and attention, we learn to act deliberately, protecting our energy and strengthening our authenticity. Jung reminds us that every impulsive reaction is a lost opportunity to exercise self-mastery. Are you ready to transform the way you act, practicing conscious observation and discovering the power in every deliberate and intentional decision? Transformation through silence. In the end, silence reveals itself as one of the most powerful tools for self-knowledge and empowerment. Carl Jung taught that it is not just about quieting the mind or words, but about using our energy consciously, choosing when and how to show ourselves. When we learn to act with this awareness, every gesture and every word becomes meaningful, and our presence acquires a magnetism that does not depend on others' approval or recognition. What would you change in your life if you learned to use silence as a powerful weapon? Strategic silence transforms not only how others perceive us, but primarily how we see ourselves. It allows us to reflect on our desires, emotions, and reactions without being swept away by external stimuli. Jung believed that this practice brings us closer to our true essence, revealing who we really are beyond social masks and others' expectations. Have you ever thought about how your life could be different if you prioritized your own space and energy instead of attending to everyone around you? Furthermore, silence is a tool for emotional protection. Every time we choose not to react impulsively or give in to provocations, we keep our energy intact, preventing manipulative or opportunistic people from taking advantage of us. By becoming selective about where and with whom to invest your presence, you become unshakable and magnetic. How many times have you felt emotionally drained by giving your attention to those who did not deserve it, and how would it have been if you had used silence to protect yourself? Jung also showed that silence promotes self-mastery and mental clarity. Instead of reacting automatically, we can observe, reflect, and decide consciously. This strengthens our autonomy, allows for wiser choices, and connects us with our inner wisdom. Have you noticed how some thoughtless decisions could have been different if you had taken a step back and reflected in silence before acting? Another essential point is that silence creates presence and silent authority. People around us naturally begin to respect us, recognizing our ability to think, reflect, and act with intention. There is no need to raise your voice or impose yourself. Strategic silence conveys strength and confidence. Have you noticed how some individuals seem to command a room simply through their calm and reflective posture without saying much? The practice of silence is also a form of individuation, according to Jung. By choosing when to show yourself and when to withdraw, we cultivate authenticity and self-awareness. Every conscious withdrawal, every moment of reflection, strengthens our identity and brings us closer to a fuller and more balanced life. How many times have you felt lost or manipulated for not setting clear boundaries, and how could your life change if you learned to use silence to your advantage? Finally, silence is a powerful weapon of transformation. It allows us to preserve our energy, protect our essence, strengthen emotional autonomy, and become effortlessly magnetic. Jung reminded us that true power is not in controlling others, but in controlling ourselves, using our presence and energy consciously and intentionally. Are you ready to transform your life through silence and discover the invisible power within you?